4th of September 2023. In this news flash, I'm going to talk about the South African fiscus. It's quite clear that they're in trouble. And this morning, I saw this article from Business Tech. South Africa has hit its limits. The National Treasury is reportedly proposing a host of extreme measures to get national departments and other spheres of governments to cut spending as the country's coffers have run dry. Now obviously this is a concept and a construct that the SASSA generation and the keyboard warriors on social media cannot understand. They cannot really grasp the true meaning of what is contained in this. But they are going to feel it, and they're going to feel it brutally. Treasury data this week showed that the budget moved to a deficit of 143.8 billion rand for July, the largest since at least 2004, and wider than the 115 billion forecast by economists. Economists are also sounding the alarm on the full year outlook, with South Africa's fiscal deficit for the year expected to exceed the budget set by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana by some margin. And I assume that they are fairly conservative with that statement. South Africa's fiscal deficit for 2023 is set to be between 6% and 6.5% of gross domestic product, much higher than the minister expected, 4%. In the budget, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana said the government wants to stabilize South Africa's debt level at 70% of GDP, but it has already increased to 72%. As a result, South Africa's debt situation has also worsened significantly, moving from a relatively modest 500 billion rand in 2006 to over 4.7 trillion in 2022. This is expected to hit 6 trillion by 2025, putting the country in a significant debt trap. Now, the reality is that this SASSA Brigade warriors on social media, I don't think many of them can actually write that number out, 4.7 trillion, and very few will be able to read it if you write it out for them. Similar warnings have emanated from the South African Reserve Bank, which raised red flags over the country's growing deficits this week. According to the Sunday Times, Godongwana is acutely aware of the fiscal problems the country faces, and in a draft document looking for solutions is proposing huge cuts to spending, a moratorium on advertising new hires, and forcing departments to find other means to fund wage increases. The austerity measures would mark the first time since 2013 that the National Treasury took an official stance, and this is particularly notable as this would come ahead of a national election. Now, I'm just curious. Forcing departments to find other means to fund wage increases. What the fuck is that? Let's take the Department of Education. Where must they find other means of revenue? Start selling pupils or what? Selling school furniture or what? Or rent the buildings out for drug houses and bordellos and things like that? How must a department find other means to fund wage increases. How? It's a State Department. It's not a fucking business. And I see the Reserve Bank raised red flags. Raising fucking red flags means, fuck all, you need to act. You need to act. When somebody blossoms into a river and starts drowning, you can raise as many flags on the fucking bridges as you like. That guy is going to drown. The only way you can help him is dive in and help him out. But the superior logic and natural intelligence is mind-boggling. The document reportedly points to much lower than expected tax revenues as well, which exacerbates the funding crunch. It was also reportedly recommended that the provinces introduce similar measures. South Africa's provincial government and municipalities are in deep financial crisis, with major metros having already run out of money and many others nearing collapse. Now, I'm curious, this lower than expected tax revenues, could that be because of all the businesses that was forced to shut down, which they could not survive the BEE pressures? Could it be that many guys are no longer opening new, white guys, no longer opening new business and employ lots of people? I wonder. Something is not lacking there. Oh, it could be that a hell of a lot of white guys packed their money up and left the country. Oh, shit. But in any case, let the whites go. We don't want whites in South Africa. Now, the chickens are coming home to roost. The city of Tshwane has run head-on into a battle with its municipal workers of wages, with the threat of being placed into administration now looming over its head. Other metros like the city of Joburg and the city of Ekurhuleni are struggling to replace parts and do repairs to city infrastructure, with the latter announcing this week that it would have to stop the repair of traffic lights and instead replace them with stop signs as the repair funds have run out. And how the fuck is that going? So, get rid of all the white administrators. The blacks with their natural intelligence, they can do better. And it took them 30 years to fuck everything in a country. Not a single metro is properly operational anymore. I mean, look at Joburg, for fuck's sakes. A guy representing a party that got less than 1% of the vote is the mayor. And he gets an obscene salary. But the SASSA Brigade, cheers, yes, we've got a black mayor, that's all. They don't give a fuck whether he's capable of doing what he's doing as long as he's black. I wonder how many of those that cheer him on will get into a 747 Boeing and put the mayor behind the controls and say, let's go. I wonder. And if they don't want to get into that plane, why would that be? I mean, robots are no longer replaced, they replace it with stop signs. For fuck's sake, and the stop signs will get stolen and be used on shacks. We know it. Guys, you must be a real dimwit if you can't see South Africa is fucked. Municipalities' financial stresses are well known, with one of the most obvious markers being how indebted they are to the power utility Eskom, where money owed has rocketed to 64 billion rand. According to the Sunday Times, the measures could be implemented as soon as mid-September, lasting as long as is needed to bring the budget under control. And then they suggest, read, every South African owes 70,000 rand, thanks to the government. But I think that 70,000 is now more. In any case, just for the SASSA Brigade, that means, how they get to that number is they took the total debt of the country and they divided by the official population numbers. That's how they got to that 70,000 rand. So I don't care where you sit in a shack or on a pole or somewhere in the middle of the street tweeting, you owe 70,000 rand. How are you going to pay your 70,000 rand? I'm working to try and pay my part. But the problem is, the more I pay, the bigger the debt will grow, because stupid people will not contribute to the economy and make the debt bigger. So, what can we do? But this is the beauty. Indebted to the power utility Eskom. And I have spoken about that. Think about this. The normal, decent citizens of the cities are paying their electricity bills. But that money that they pay for their electricity never gets to Eskom. I wonder why. And then, I'm not a guy that likes to do rumor mongering and things like that, but I got this message. Breaking. Leaked document, government memo. South Africa is officially a failed state. Government has run out of money. 31st of August, the Minister of Finance issued an internal government memo alerting both national and provincial governments that the state has no more money available. In simple terms, the following will happen from the 15th of September this month as both national and provincial sources. 1. There is no money to pay government workers their salary increments, so all bargaining council agreements are scrapped. 2. No bonus to all government employees. 4. No training of government employees. 5. Stop the hiring of all new government employees. 6. Stop all government spending on infrastructure development projects. Now, this is all logical austerity measures. But think about the political and social ramifications about that. Think about that. All the above mentioned will lead to a jobs bloodbath because government workers' salaries are the single biggest spending item in South Africa, followed by the government infrastructure development projects. Therefore, without the two, the economy will drastically shrink, leading to mass-scale retrenchments and affect everybody in all sectors. Government itself has admitted in the memo that it doesn't know when it will be able to have money again to start its normal spending again, and is just hoping the economy will improve on its own. Until when? Even government doesn't know. So in other words, the country is on autopilot. What amuses me is that they think that things will come right. They don't need to do anything positive. They don't need to do things to stimulate the economy. No. Let's fucking chase all the whites out and get all the whites out of businesses. That's what we want. And I've asked many times in Skidmarks, you get one guy out of his engineering business, and you see that as a major achievement. But what about the 70 people that was working for that guy in that engineering business? What about them? No, you don't feel a fuck for them. Because you reached your goal, getting that white guy out of that engineering shop. A special kind of stupid. That is what I call it. But in any case, again, let's get back. Moses 6 verses 6. Stupid people must suffer. But this austerity problem is a serious problem. And I have been talking about that in my Skidmarks and Briekmerke since last year in April. I've mentioned it many times. Another big issue that nobody wants to talk about is what is the value of the interest that the government has to pay every day on all this debt. Every day. So in the morning, before they can spend anything, they must pay the interest. And then look by the end of the day if there was enough come in to spend on other stuff. You know, useless stuff like education and health and police, things like that. And railway and harbours. Those things are not important. As long as they can pay those enormous salaries to themselves. I mean, Cyril got a cabinet of, I think, 75 members. What the flying fuck is that? And they cost the country millions. And you complain about crime. And then you go and look and you see that the police budget gets cut every year. But go and look what that blue light brigade, you know, that special corps that is only there to protect these ministers and top officials. Go and look what their budget is. And that budget grows every year. Think about this. But this, and call me a racist because I'm a white guy telling you these things. You SASSA generation, better take note. This is a major red flag. Your time is running out. Please give me a like and subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.